Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with the Stay at Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody, and I'm sorry for the delay getting this out a little late. I hope everyone was just relaxing for Memorial Day weekend. I had a really crazy week last week. As I told some of you, I had to have a follow up for my surgery. So I actually had to go under anesthesia. They had to get some old blood that was in there. Bleh. But I'm on the mend. I'm recovering, doing great. And unfortunately, my 94-year-old grandmother passed away over the weekend. She lived a great life and she is in a better place, no longer suffering. So I am blessed for that and blessed that she got to spend time with my girls and everything. So last week was just a really crazy week. So that's why I am getting this out a day later, but I never forget about you guys. And I am ready to distract myself of my week and talk about these crazy shows. At least that's what always gives me comfort, seeing the craziness of these people. It brings a little smile and laugh to me. So, dedicating this episode to my grandmother. Mom, I love you. And I know you're listening to me up in heaven. So, I'm going to start off with Summerhouse. And by the way, my 94-year-old grandmother would think all these people are crazy, just to let everyone know. Um, but we see Danielle launching her app. So Paige was there for that. And I guess she is realizing what Danielle is a CEO and founder of. And it's this, it's called Donne. And it's going to be like a Clueless closet. Now, if we all remember Cher on Clueless, which is definitely one of my favorite movies, that computer closet was ahead of its time and that was crazy. So I've always been waiting. The world we live in now, we have like AI robot people. I'm like, when are we going to have stuff like that? And Danielle was listening to people asking, and I bet she definitely is an avid watcher of Clueless. And she said what the app basically does is it has a picture of all your wardrobe. So I haven't looked into it, but that means to me that you have to sit down and actually take a picture of everything you own, which literally would take so long for some of us. And then it puts the outfits together for you. So that is pretty cool. It seems like it's just an app that, like I said, you do have to sit down, take the time to take a picture of all your clothes. But then once you do dedicate that time and do that, it's easy to upload, as you get new things. And that's pretty cool to put outfits together if you're not someone that likes to do that or you just can't. Um, so happy for her. She did a nice little speech. Everyone was there to support her. And Jesse Solomon walks in and tells us he is cancer free. He said he actually had to call the lab to get the results. And they were like, oh, yeah, it was just calcium buildup. So I'm sure he's like, oh, thanks for making me wait. I've been sweating and wondering. But that's great. So when they all go to the Hamptons for the weekend, so that app launch was obviously in the city. Um, they went out to dinner and celebrated the cancer free. So they had these like tan balloons that were like in twos, obviously for the balls. And they didn't have like a private room. So they were at a restaurant and like there was people just sitting there eating. So they're probably like, what on earth is going on? So not everyone knows who these people are too. So obviously they see the cameras and they know they're on TV, but some people may be like, what the hell is going on? And then Jesse Solomon grants us with a nice little tune.
What would Jesse Solomon do? Take you to a party and then leave you. Tell me, what would Jesse Solomon do? He'll promise he'll be a friend to you.
So that was pretty funny. And then, like, at one part in the song, he was like, will Carl and Lindsay put up a fight? Or like, will they make it through the night? And then he said something about Kyle and Amanda too. That was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, that was nice that they all celebrated him. And obviously that is amazing. He's cancer free. I thought he was because I feel like we would know in real time if he wasn't, but glad that we got the confirmation that it was just too much calcium. And he said he drinks a lot of milk. So maybe he just needs to lay off the milk. Um, 'Cause fun fact, men do produce more calcium naturally than women do. So men should never take calcium supplements unless you're directed by your doctor, but you shouldn't just take it for fun thinking that you are lacking calcium. So then Ciara is just chit-chatting with Amanda and Paige, and she said she's just beginning to feel like West is just a big jokester. And then Amanda's like, "And that you're the biggest joke." I was like, "Oh, Amanda, God." But I do see what Ciara means. She's explaining to them about the date she went on him with the, like, horseback riding. She's like, "He makes no sense. He doesn't wanna be, like, serious and be like boyfriend, girlfriend, but yet he's also saying he'd take me home if Thanksgiving was tomorrow to his family." You definitely don't intro to the family, let alone on a holiday, if it's not serious. And like I've already said before, not to be like slutty, but they're at the age where they haven't even had sex together. Like, I don't think they could be boyfriend or girlfriend. They need to test drive the car before they buy it, if you know what I mean. It's like not like they're moving in together, but like, what if they have sex and they're like, ew? So, they need to take that step. But I think she doesn't want to take that step because she's afraid he won't become her boyfriend. I'm seeing both sides for them. I see his points, I see her points, but at the end of the day, I actually am starting to think West is a very polite F boy. Not like an Austin where he's just a total douche, but like kind of leading Ciara on, but then he doesn't have, you know, commitment to him. He doesn't wanna say, "Yeah, I'll be your boyfriend and I'll just stop talking to other girls and pursuing other things because I've found you," sex or not. So, I would like to know their current stance with one another, if they did kind of, like, give it a try after this, because I feel like he also said, like, "I need to get to know her outside from living in this house and doing this," which agreed. It's like, are you just, like, getting butterflies because she's, like, the best one for you to pick out of this bunch? Because, like, everyone's, like, taken. Like, Amanda's taken, Paige is taken, Lindsay's taken, and he just isn't vibing with Danielle. And Danielle's hooking up with men like left and right. And Balloon Guy Joe comes to the party this week. So that was our answer. They did keep in contact, and he's coming back for another party appearance. Didn't see any balloons, but I also heard that the stipend that they get is like $500 for these parties. So they are going out of pocket for everything else. And it's because Bravo pays for this house. And somebody creeped on Zillow and looked it up. I talked about it before. It's $40,000 a month. So they're renting it July and August. So that's a lot. That's $80,000 just for them to live there. So they're probably like, if you guys want to do these crazy themes and like have all this crazy stuff, that's your prerogative. And obviously Kyle just supplies Loverboy, which is like, I feel like 85% of what they drink. Like obviously they do like some liquor too, but I never really see any other canned beverage there. It's just his. And I feel like it's because they would think they're insulting him. But also, side note, I watched Watch What Happens Live, and Kyle, was asked about the spritz company that Craigie has invested in, and he said that Craig is a known liar, so he's not surprised the way he went about this. But then I heard, so this is the tea portion of the podcast, relating to Summerhouse, that Craig had asked Kyle before to be an investor in Loverboy, and he said no. So therefore, Craigie did the spritz company. So it kind of is like you can't be mad if you did turn him down and he wants to invest in something like that. Um, I I don't know. I can't fully believe Kyle, but and Craig is a different person now. Yes, he always wasn't like my favorite. I feel like he changed a lot for positive, but Kyle may have some points there. I don't know. I'll keep seeing how this unfolds because this summer, I don't think Paige is going to like that Kyle said that. So curious if she will boycott Loverboy this summer, but then that'll mean she's boycotting Amanda as well. And like I said, that's the only can that everyone drinks in the house, but I'll die if, like, when Craig visits, he brings some spritz. It'll be like battle of the cans. As I told you guys, they do not carry Loverboy in Delaware where we're from. So when we are in Wildwood at the one liquor store we go to, they do have Loverboy. So I'm gonna see if they have other flavors because all they had was the like I got like a hibiscus iced tea, which was like kind of gross. I'm not into spiking the iced teas. I want to try that limoncello spritz, and they're always drinking that, all the girls. So it must be good. I see the tall cans, I think, are the tea, which is usually what the guys are drinking, but the girls are always drinking the little limoncello spritz. So I'm hoping the liquor store we go to has those. And then I'd be curious if the one Craig invested in will be in Delaware because he's originally from Delaware. So I'll keep my eye out for spritz also. Maybe it's already at our liquor store. I don't know. Usually I don't even go to the liquor store. I go to the liquor store in Costco because we don't get like 100 different things. We get our normal like couple things, and I have to go to Costco anyway. So I'm like, one less stop, just go here. But down the shore, I will look for different Loverboy flavors and keep everyone posted once I drink it. Um, so this is West's turn for the theme of the party, and it's Doomsday, which is cool. I feel like they've been A plus with all the themes. Even like Paige's little dinner she did, that was cool. I liked that. And like I said, they're paying for this. All they get is $500. And honestly, that probably goes towards some of the alcohol. All these decorations and whatnot, they're getting themselves. That's always probably the Amazon boxes we see, but they're hanging up like baby doll, like, heads and arms and stuff, and, like, they're getting, like, black paint all over their eyes, and, all the women are, like, in leather gothic boots you could get at, like, Hot Topic, and I was like, "Oh, this is like a emo meets doomsday party, I like this." So, Carl and Kyle sit down before the party starts to discuss the lover boy opportunity with the non-alcoholic side. So he's telling him that he would give him a stipend of $3,000 a month to do as he wants for advertising, and he would give him 10% of sales revenue. So that would be just for the non-alcoholic, but that's really good. So all I feel like this is just a talk before the talk because they're just trying to give us an inside of what's going on, but obviously, off camera, they're gonna have a serious talk. Carl will come more prepared with more questions, numbers, exact, and then they will have, obviously, paperwork that Carl will sign. Like, it's not like this is the talk and then tomorrow that's gonna be what it is. So, Lindsay is creeping in the background, eavesdropping, I could tell. And then Carl said to Kyle, like, "Obviously, I'm gonna, like, talk all this over with Lindsay, but, at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what's best for me." So I like that he's finally getting like this because that's how it has to be. So then Carl goes upstairs and he's just chit-chatting with Lindsay because she's like, "How did the talk go?" So I'm already bracing myself for like a negative reaction from her for all this. And he said that he would be a consultant for Loverboy, not an employee. Whereas last time he was an employee, and maybe that was part of the problem. And like we said, this is just going to be the non-alcoholic wheelhouse, which is perfect for Carl and whatever. Lindsay is literally already shooting it all down, asking so many questions. So it's not even the asking questions, because, like I said before, I would do this to my husband too. And she's not a yes, sir, whatever type of personality. And I don't think you should be with a spouse because once they get married, I have a feeling they will keep their finances separate. Just I feel like a lot of these people do on TV or famous people. Like if you're both famous, you just have your own accounts or maybe put like equal money in one account together, but then keep other things separate. I just feel like the way she asked the questions are so negative. Like, I would have went into it saying like, "I know that you guys are probably gonna have, like, another conversation, so maybe when you do the more serious talk or do the paperwork, before the paperwork, you say this, whatever." Instead, she's just like, "Oh my god, Carl, why didn't you ask that? Why didn't you get this exact number? Why didn't you do that?" And it's like, "Girl, this isn't the final conversation." And she's just being negative, like, she can't pull any positive out of the conversation you just had with Kyle. Like, that's what stresses him out. On the other hand, he does, like, totally think that Lindsay is gonna be somebody she's not, like, warm and fuzzy and butterflies and rainbows and yes him to death. That's just not her personality. But they obviously already were having tension before the party, which is never gonna be good because then Lindsay's gonna go off and drink, and it's gonna make their conversations they have later in the night even worse. So then, they're having the party, everyone looks scary, I love that, And then we see the appearance by Balloon Guy Joe and Danielle. They are making out. And Gabby is just chit-chatting with Ciara a little bit, and she said she thinks, like, if they took the next step and got serious, Ciara and West, that their first fight would be about how West is so social. So since this is his party, I feel like everyone gets to invite, like, their friends, but when you are throwing the party, you definitely invite your friends. Um, all his friends are girls. That's also not a comforting sign. Like, you're not a gay guy, so I need to know why all your friends are girls that are coming to this party, and they're all attractive too. So he's like obviously being nice and introducing them to Ciara, and then like in his confessional, he's like, I wanna see how, she meets my friends, how she interacts with my friends, like, out of this bubble. So that's, like, what I was saying, a little earlier. He wants to see how they go from here. Like, when all the glitz and glam and cameras go down, are you guys still gonna interact the same, or what's it gonna be like? Can you mold into each other's lives? But that was just red flag a little bit for me. I'm like, "Who are all these bitches that are your friends? Like, where are those dudes that were at the first party? Like, now it's a bunch of girls." I don't know. But, then Carl and Lindsay have another talk. She fuels up with a whole solo cup, like, I feel like, of Tito's, and then goes to talk to him. I'm like, "That's not gonna be good." And she's just telling him, like, "I am not a Stepford wife. I am not gonna yes you to death, so you need to stop thinking I'm gonna change, and you knew my personality." So I do have to give her 1 point for that. But he's like, "I just want, like, a hug and tenderness from you," and that's what I mean. She is not somebody that's gonna give him that, so, like, maybe he shouldn't have picked her to marry, um, based on he can't say, "I didn't know the true you." It's like, you really have known the true her because you have been on this show together and been friends with her for a very long time. But it's like every episode they're fighting at this point. I can't believe Lindsay didn't call off the wedding. And we're going to get the finale this week, but I just can't believe she's going to be blindsided. So I hope they show more insight to that of how she was blindsided or on the reunion. Oh my God, this reunion is going to be good. Just seeing them together, she's going to get activated during the reunion. But I wonder if Andy would ask or a person that writes in, which we never know if they write in. I'm like, Andy, is that really your shady question? And you just make up some random person's name? No, I feel like they really do get writing questions. But I wonder if a question will be, Lindsay, if you were getting so upset and knew you and Carl were fighting this much, why didn't you call the wedding off? Why'd you almost like wait for him to pull the trigger? That would be a question I would ask because I don't care if they didn't fight every single day. You're fighting too much. And they're like sleeping in separate rooms. Like, and he's like telling people that. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't really think there's anything wrong with them going to counseling before getting married. It's like still that can be a little bit of a red flag, but I don't think so. Some people, like, need to go to therapy. Even if there's not a problem, they do it, and, like, that's how they communicate and talk to make sure everything stays on track. I don't know. Some people just need that third party that, like, doesn't know either of them to talk it out and whatever. That's not really a flag to me as much as you guys are sleeping in separate rooms and fighting every time you're on camera. So it's like, how bad are the fights off camera? Because Carl's like starting to raise his voice with her and he's like, yeah, it's a F enough. It's enough. And Paige and like Amanda are watching from a distance. And Paige said she thinks that Carl and Lindsay will go through with the wedding, but they shouldn't. And I agree. I mean, she's like, I know Lindsay wants that lifetime thing. Obviously, we know real time they didn't go through with it, but Paige is just calling it like she sees it. And that's what I mean. The next episode is going to be very interesting. I wonder if it's going to be like a little extra long because they are going to obviously end at the house, but then like having a final party, but then the ending it'll probably be like a Labor Day party. The ending will be them in the apartment and him like breaking it off, and that's gonna be wild, and then she's gonna go in their bedroom and call her dad. She's like, "Dad, Carl just called the wedding off." "Yeah, call him." No, I don't think she said call him, but like she literally went in the other room and called her dad and was like, "Dad, Carl just did this. Can you believe this?" But then it's like, can you believe that you didn't do it? I don't know. It's just like wild. Let's take a little break and then we'll come back with the recap of Jersey. And then I'll finish up doing a little Bravo tea that's happening in the Bravo universe because we got some piping hot stuff that's been happening lately. To all my listeners out there, it's not just the Bravo celebrities that want to look beautiful. We do too. Head on over to Studio One Salon for the most amazing extensions, cut, color, or even just a nice shampoo and blowout for when you go out with all your friends to talk about all the latest Bravo tea. Use my code BRAVOT with a stay at home mom to enjoy 10% off. And we're back. We're picking up with our ladies in Jersey. So we got Gabriella, Louie, and Teresa in a suburban like Uber situation, probably to the airport to go to Michigan because they have already sent all of her 500 outfits along with those movers. And she is saying that when she showers, she has to bring a little shower caddy around with her to the room and to the shower. Like you got like everything in there. Like you're like at an arts and crafts thing, I feel like with kids. And then Teresa's like, oh, that's just like jail.
Ha ha, laugh, funny.
Like, it was so funny for so long. She's like, "We don't use that word. We say going away or, like, camp." And now it's like, she's just like, "Yeah, I went to jail." For so long, it was like the unspoken word that you couldn't say. You just said going away. I feel like that was also when the girls were younger, especially Audriana, like, they were not telling her where they were going, and she was, like, 6 years old, so she believed them. Gia, on the other hand, was like, "No." And Melania was very savvy. I feel like she was, like, Googling what they were doing. But then we see Melissa trying to teach Antonia how to do laundry before she goes her way to the University of Delaware. Shout out. And she's like, here's the little compartment where you put your detergent in. And then there's a separate compartment for the fabric softener. And then Antonia goes, what's fabric softener? Now, I have to say, I didn't do laundry in high school, but I knew what fabric softener was. So I was like, oh my God, sheltered child. I mean, you see those little Snuggles commercials too with the cute little bear, and that's fabric softener. So I don't understand why she's like, what's fabric softener? Sometimes I feel like, no offense to anyone that's from Jersey, but I feel like some of these people, I'm like, why do you not know? Like, they don't know like little quirky sayings like, remember when Teresa that one time was like, instead of like, "I'm gonna blow a gasket," she said, "I'm gonna blow my casket." Like, it's like and then they just don't get like little idiisms like that, or like even Melissa. And so when Antonia said she didn't even know what fabric softener is, I'm like, what like planet is New Jersey on? Like, I don't know. I feel like they're just sheltered from like normal things. Don't know. Uh but then we see Margaret and Joe going on a little motorcycle ride to this cute little burger place. I was like, "Oh my god, those onion rings that they got looked amazing." But, she was just talking about how she is a little upset with Jenn Fesslar kinda dipping out and going on Teresa's side. She slowly sees her, and I already revealed what I secretly think everyone wanted to do. I think minus Dolores, because she's in the middle. I think Margaret, Rachel, and Melissa really wanted to isolate Teresa on an island, and then they would have no choice but to fire Teresa and possibly Jennifer Aydin. And like by Jenn Fesslar going and chit-chatting with Teresa, it's ruining that plan. That's just like my thought of what I think they want to do because they know it's divided and they're like, "Oh, Teresa like has less friends than us. So like let's try and ice her out." And by Jenn Fesslar doing this, it's ruining the plan is what I'm thinking. And then she is talking about Jackie because Jackie has come back on the scene, but she is stepping into a new group as well. And Margaret is getting upset and she reveals her ex-husband's passing, that Jackie came to the service, came to all the things that go along with it, but afterwards really didn't check on her. And I feel like that's when you need people to check on you when everything has died down and the dust is settling, you still need the close friends to be like, "Hey, like, just thinking about you," or like, maybe stop over and stuff like that. So she said it's been a year. I guess it was just like a year anniversary for Jan's passing. And like, Melissa called her, she said somebody else called her, but she's like, "Jackie didn't," which that's important too. I feel like when you hit that year milestone, somebody is gonna be upset. So, it is interesting to me that Jackie's already kinda, like, brushed them off, and then Margaret brings up the whole book deal thing, and she said, "Love Melissa to death," but Jackie sends her a copy of her book. Melissa's not doesn't even read books. I was like, "That's a little bit of a dig," like, meaning, like, she's an idiot and doesn't read, and she's like, "She'd love her, but she doesn't read anybody's book. She doesn't care," and then she said she sent one to Jenn Fesslar, and she didn't send one to Margaret. So, later we will touch on what Jackie says to Margaret because they get in an actual in-person fight about it, but I do have to side a little bit with Margaret on this one. Like, if you are all close friends, like, why aren't you sending all your close friends a copy of your book? Like, it's your book, you're getting it for free. It's like it'd be like if Kyle wasn't sending or giving people Loverboy at Summerhouse and making them buy it. Like, it's just a little goofy that she didn't send it to Margaret, and then maybe that is what put the wedge between them, not something else that Margaret was doing. I don't know. I am interested to see Jackie shift gears and change teams and sides, but is a little interesting because she had very much disdain for Teresa and Jennifer Aydin. So it is fascinating. Then we get Rachel in her confessional. It was like a black dress, which would have been cute and nice and complimentary all on its own. But then she had this weird giant paper mache arts and crafts red flower on it. That was just like, bleh. Like, I don't know where she got that. Like, literally, it looks like something you would make that paper mache, that stuff in school in art. And she just put it on top of a nice black dress. I don't know. That was weird. But she's meeting Jenn Fesslar for breakfast, and may I just say, this little breakfast place, so cute, and they order something called croffles. So when it came, I was like, "What's that?" It just everything just looked yummy, and then they got this other, like, sticky bun thingy that I was just, like, paying attention to that instead of what they were saying. But they were just having, like, a follow-up conversation as to why Rachel's so upset. She's like, "I'm just, like, like a faucet lately. It's just the tears are coming out," and Jenn Fessler is so funny. She's like, "Rachel, I don't understand." She gives 0 shits when, like, she stands her ground. Like, she's not being mean, but she's also not being sympathetic. So it's actually really funny and entertaining. She's like, "I just don't understand why you're crying." Instead of being like, "I'm sorry I'm making you cry," or like, "Let me understand." She's like, "I don't understand." And in her confessional, she's basically like, Rachel is like 32 years old, which is weird. I'm 33. I was like, I can't believe I'm actually a year older than a housewife that's on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. It's crazy. But she's like, she's 32. She needs to just squash this and get over it. Like, life's too short. She's too young. She's like, I'm over it. Like, she's so funny. But she's just explaining to her, Rachel, is that just Jenn Fessler even talking to Teresa upsets her, which is that's what I mean. If this was real life, maybe I would understand. Like Danielle Cabral said she understood. But it's isn't real life to some degree. You're on a show. So Jenn Fessler is going to talk to Teresa and you are going to have to deal with it. It's just like Teresa and Melissa do have to deal with it. They're in the same room, which we're going to touch on the end too. Because they're on a show together. If they weren't on the show together, no, they could totally avoid each other, even though they're family. They don't have to have Christmas together. They could not see each other. Sad, but true. But then we're going to switch gears and go to Jennifer Aydin's house for a dog party. So her daughter Olivia is so freaking funny. So they got 10 dogs that Dolores could pick from to bring, and then she names all the dogs, and they're all, like, weird names. It's like banana, donut, potato chip, lady, dog. What one's name is dog. I don't re the one she brought was lady, so this is a newer one, but she said between her, Frank, and her daughter that's a vet, they have, like, 100 dogs to choose from. But she really said 10. I was like, "Damn." So these little dog, biscuits get delivered too, and Olivia is Jennifer Aydin's daughter. She's like the new age Melania. Like, the shit that comes out of her mouth is just so funny, and she just is herself and doesn't care, which I love. So, the little biscuits on it say, "Bitch," and because she's a female dog, the one they're having the party for. And Olivia's like, "Oh, the dog treats say bitch." And Biscuit is a lady, so she's a bitch. She's so funny. So they have a little doggy fashion show. And then at the end, obviously the birthday girl, Biscuit, wins, per Olivia's wishes. And then we have an appearance from another daughter. We got Gia. And my husband immediately says to me, "I don't like that Gia's there sitting in, chiming in, butting in." And I was like, that's very interesting that you mentioned that because she lately is a hot topic on butting in. So, what people have been coming back to say is, remember Vicky's daughter Brianna? She got involved and she even came to reunions. Remember Caroline Manzo's daughter, if we want to even keep it on Jersey? Lauren Manzo was heavily involved and came to reunions as well. So some people are like, why is Gia different? She's a daughter and she's been on since day one. And now she's just getting involved because she's old enough. The one thing I don't like, I don't mind if she's sitting here at this lunch, like talking about this. The thing I don't like is when they use her as collateral damage and like her and Teresa gang up on Joe Gorga. I don't like that because guess what? Let's have Antonia come in and gang up with Joe onto Teresa and Gia. So when it comes to the family stuff, I don't like that because it's like, I feel like Gia can stand there and talk to Joe like that, and it's like, well, why can't Antonia? But Antonia doesn't want to either. Like, she's like, "This isn't my show, it's my parents' thing." But I don't really care if Gia would, like, get involved like this, but it would be wild if she ever got on the show as a housewife, like, replace Teresa. That would be weird. Obviously, Melissa would probably be off by then because at some point, I feel like these people are gonna get off, but, I mean, Kyle Richards is older than Melissa and a little bit older than Teresa, and she's still on. So I don't know. I mean, I also like to keep up with the OGs because they're the people I care the most about. Sometimes when the new people come, you got to really wow me for me to be interested because it's like I'm already distracted by the old OGs. But while Gia is there for the hot gossip, Lena, the hairdresser, comes to the party to talk some dirt on Danielle. Now, Danielle did this event, like, last summer, and it was at this place that, like, a lot of bands come to, too. Like, when I looked it up, it's not even, like, nice inside, but she did, like, a housewives event, and she asked Lena, this hairdresser who does Teresa's hair, too, and then they show a flashback of her at the reunion. She was at last year's reunion doing the hair, which is weird because I was like, Teresa has, like, faithfully had that, Priscilla girl do her makeup from day one because she was on old episodes, and then that, Lucia girl does her hair who did the big wedding hair, so maybe she was booked, and that's why this Lena lady was at the reunion last year, but, when they showed the clip, it was when Teresa was, like, sobbing on the phone to Gia, see, getting her involved with the Joe stuff, and she was like, "He's a liar," and the way she said it, I was like, "Oh my god, was that Teresa or, like, Louis?" Like, it was so deep, and it was so unlike her voice, and even though she was crying, she still has never sounded like that when she's crying. She's like, "He's a liar." And I was like, "Who is that?" But this Lena lady is saying that she opened up her hair salon to do Danielle's hair on this like event. And Teresa and Dolores and Jennifer Aydin did the event with Danielle as well, because that's when they were all like a little team. And Lena then comes later to the event to do like maybe hair touch-ups and whatnot. And Danielle's like, "Can you come?" So usually I feel like when you're like an entourage of these people, you just assume and think like, "Oh, I'm gonna like get compensated for the night as well. Like you're gonna buy me like a VIP ticket and I won't be standing with like peons in the audience." So when she goes up to the person with like the little clipboard, like Night at the Roxbury to get in the club, they're like, "No, you're not in the VIP area." And she's like, "What?" So then she's like, "Go ask Danielle." So they go up and talk to Danielle, and Lena is impersonating it. And it's like all these like handshakes. And then they come back and they're like, "No, she said you can't come up here in the VIP," which is so foul. And from the gossip that we heard about Danielle from BravoCon, like she had her glam squad stay far, far away in like a ghetto hotel and they were Ubering to her every day. And like all this like weird stories. But like for me, it's like if you can't afford to have the glam travel with you, don't bring them and or talk to the people that you're on the show with. Like, hey, Jennifer, Teresa, Dolores. Pretty much that's who she was talking to and friends with, I feel like at that point. Do you want to share glam for BravoCon? Like Teresa probably just sticks to her own, but I bet Dolores or Jennifer Aydin would have shared it with her, especially Jennifer Aydin. We know that girl like does like to keep it on a budget. She's balling on a budget. But that was very interesting, all that. I thought that was a little crazy too for Danielle to act like that towards a hairdresser. Like, you had only been on the show for like one season and barely. I feel like the show maybe hadn't even aired yet. So it was like promo for like up and coming season. So it's like, you're like not even on the Housewives yet. Can you like simmer down with the like, I'm a superstar thing? And then Jennifer did say that she invited, I think, Margaret to this, and then Teresa was like, "Oh, would Joe Benigno have brought the real dog or Margaret?" I was like, "Oh, shit." Oh god. So, obviously, we know Teresa's, like, sticking to her guns too, like, I feel like she doesn't wanna talk to any of them either, and that makes it easy for, like, a station to fire someone because Melissa would be like, "No, look, like, I talk to everyone." Teresa's the one that only has, like, one friend, Jennifer Aydin, because Danielle, as we see now in current time, just saw a picture with her on Instagram with, like, Melissa, her, Rachel, and some other person that I don't know. That's not on the show, so that's not important. But they were out to dinner, so she's not on Team Teresa any longer. And after this, Lena the hairdresser thing, I think that's gonna be the next strike because she's already pissed about them setting her up with the Melissa cheating rumor from last year. And now this, I think she's like just had it with them, honestly. But then we see Joe and Melissa move Antonia into the University of Delaware dorms and just them driving in my hometown at a college that all my friends went to. I didn't go. I was like 1% of like, I feel like my graduating high school class that did not go to the University of Delaware, but I went to Philadelphia University. I did fashion merchandising, so just wanted a different little change of scenery, but hung out, partied a ton at UD, know every inch quarter that they were walking in, and it's just was like very wild to see. And like I said, she's actually the third person on the Real Housewives of New Jersey that is attending UD, so that's pretty crazy. So her roommate is a childhood friend from home. So I'm just going to put this out there right now. You do not get to pick your roommates in college. You get to maybe write down a suggestion when you meet people at like those little pre-college meet and greet thingies. But you know, Melissa was calling that school and she's saying, my daughter is on TV. She needs this roommate from home because it's just going to be better. And when I tell you they moved in the day ahead of move-in time, my dad probably wished I was on TV and they were too. Because moving into dorms with every other family on the same day, and there was no air conditioning in my dorm room because I feel like it was like prison times. Like now their dorm room looked their dorm room was just as big as mine, but there was 4 of us in there versus their 2, and I could tell they had air conditioning in there. I did not. Um, and it was like 100 degrees. So everyone's moving in at the same time and it's 100 degrees. My dad definitely would have loved this easy move in. And they had people from like the university helping them, like these 3 young boys. And I'm like, yeah, literally none of this happens. This is like a special like move in. And I'm sure Antonia's friend loves, she's probably like, it's really paying off that you're on TV. I mean, they are childhood friends, so she loves Antonia for her, which is good because you do probably have people. I don't know how many people their age do watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm sure there are some, but they are young for like when it came out. I mean, Antonia, what was she like 5 or 6? So if anyone in her class at UD watches it, it would be like new watching it. They definitely wouldn't have OG watched it when I started. I was, like, at the end of high school, beginning of college when it came out, but, yeah, just seeing all that, and then Joe is, like, of course, as always, protective dad. He's like, to the young boys that are, like, helping the move, and he's like, "She doesn't like boys." Like, insinuating she's a lesbian, like, don't hit on my daughter." That was pretty funny. But then they're, like, crying, and Melissa looked at her, and she's like, "Are you really gonna stay here?" And then Joe was like, "Last chance." I feel like so I gotta, like, tell a little personal story. So that was, like, me. I'm an only child. I was excited to go to school, and I was only 45 minutes away, guys. But, like, the day of moving, it was just, like, so hot. So the next day, of course, I wake up and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's just so hot." So my dad goes to Home Depot, my parents, buy this giant, like, industrial fan. They bring it to my dorm room, like, how nice. Only child syndrome. And they put it in there, and then I'm, like, looking at them, and I start hysterically crying. And then I was just like, "I just, like, wanna come home." And my mom's like, "Well, we already paid for the first semester, so you need to just at least stay and give it a try." And then my dad was just standing there in, like, utter silence. And I swear to God, if my mom wasn't there, he would have been like, "All right, just get in the car, let's go home. We'll figure everything else out later." Like, it would have just been like, "Okay, let's go." I don't know. Like, I could just tell that he would have done that. But then, like, 2 days later, I was like, "Oh, I'm on the bus to King of Prussia with all my new friends to the mall. I'm fine. I love life." It is an adjustment, though, and especially, like, if like, I never went to, like, sleepaway camp and stuff like that. I mean, I had friends and I went to sleepovers. Don't think I'm, like, sheltered living in an attic at my parents' house, but it is different, like, and I didn't know anyone at my, college. Like, if I would've went to the University of Delaware, I would have known a lot of people because my high school went there, and then even, like, older people that you just know from around here, like, a lot of people from Delaware just go to the University of Delaware, so that would have been an easier transition for me, but I did want something different, and I'm glad I did that. And now looking back on it, it is funny to just think that I was standing there crying, saying, "Please take me home." But that was sad. Even Joe was, like, crying a little, and then they leave her, and in real time, Antonia has already finished her first college year at UD, so I'll be intrigued to see. I saw she joined a sorority, if she lives in a sorority house next year or what she will do, but I hope I need to, like, go creep down there during, like, homecoming, like, in the fall, see if I see her, like, out and about, probably at Grottoes on Main Street doing she'll be illegally drinking, though. Well, I saw when they did, like, Parents' Weekend, Joe and Melissa were, like, at a frat house, and I was like, "Oh my god," and I, like, recognized the one, and I was like, "This is so funny that they are just, like, walking around Delaware going into, like, frat houses for Parents' Weekend," but that's basically what it is down there. So then we, see Danielle talking to Nate about her big time that she's gonna have at New York Fashion Week. Some of her clothes are gonna be in it for, bougie kids, and it's sad. So now she's not talking to her dad because of the whole brother debacle. Now, when I tell you, if Teresa and Melissa ever left, if we got that brother on, oh shit, they would be the new Gorga versus Judice feud for sure. Because I know there are missing pieces to why she doesn't talk to her brother. She had claimed last year it was because he was making fun of her on Instagram, so now they just don't speak. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think there's some missing compartments in that. So the dad was never really taking up for her with the brother, and Danielle was starting to get hurt by that. So also, I don't know if, like, he would maybe come over and be like, "Well, like, maybe you should call your brother." And she's probably like, "No, why aren't you telling him? Maybe he should call me." So she has gotten fed up, and now she's not talking to her dad. And I'm like, "Oh shit." Like, now she's not talking to anybody. So she said her mom's going on a cruise during the New York Fashion Week that I guess is non-refundable. 'Cause I'm sure she booked it way before she even knew that the bougie kids was gonna be making an appearance. Doesn't talk to the dad, so he can't come. She's not inviting her brother and sister-in-law 'cause they all don't talk. So she's got no one coming to represent from her family. She said Nate's family lives in like, where'd she say? Somewhere far away. I want to say like Connecticut or like New Hampshire. Yeah, because Connecticut wouldn't even be that far. Unless it's like really far, far away in Connecticut. But I think it was even further than that. I wasn't really listening. But just because I'm, like, so flabbergasted now she doesn't talk to her dad, and I'm like, "Damn, next time she's not gonna talk to her mom or something." I guess I think the mom doesn't even talk to the son. It's such a cluster because usually moms not talking to the son, like, they have to be like a murder or something. I mean, it's like now we got the dad and son versus the mom and daughter, basically is what it is. But at least she has Nate. He seems like a nice fella, and he's gonna cheer her on for New York Fashion Week. Now we got everybody gearing up to go to Dolo's annual softball game. So I will say, it's getting a little annoying seeing them do the same thing. As I've already said, it's lovely. I do like to see them at the shore because we're Jersey Shore people. We go to Wildwood. So it is fun to see them do stuff that is relatable. I always said I liked Jersey the most out of all of them, is because for me, they're very relatable to us. Like, we go to the Jersey Shore too. Or like back in the day before they were like, now they're just getting more and more rich that sometimes it's hard to relate to them. But I don't know. Like, they go to Costco, so do I. Send their kids to normal school. They like go on normal vacations. Like, they're not like Kyle Richards and Lisa Vanderpump. I'm not relating to them at all. So I always just felt like they were the most normal. Or like back in the day, they literally used to go into the like grocery store and film, or like little like places. And I'm like, yes, this is like very relatable to my life. Um, I'm getting tired of seeing the softball game, even though there was some drama at the softball game, which I liked. But I'm like, I need a Jersey Christmas, which I know I've already said, but it's like, I think that's what they're going to do. They're taking the summer off from filming for them. Honestly, probably to get their shit together though too. Just like Vanderpump Rules, they're gonna have to figure their shit out for filming because you got people that literally refuse to film together at this point, so it's just making it very difficult. And I'm sorry if I sound nasally, my allergies are really acting up, and we were playing outside with our daughters today, our daughters, and, I just can't breathe now. I already took a shower, but it's the pollen is killing me. I asked Alexa how much longer for the pollen. She basically gave me no answer. So let's hope that the pollen is over soon. But everyone's coming into the softball game. John Fuda's t-shirt, I noticed, says, "Don't be a chooch." And I'm like, you're literally the biggest chooch out of the whole group of the guys, in my opinion. And I just found that rich, him wearing that. Everyone with the merch shirts now. Like, I wonder if he bought that on the Jersey Shore boardwalk, at the t-shirts shop, because I feel like Pauly D says that all the time. Like, chooch is like a saying, but I feel like Pauly D like gave it life and like made it more relevant and people kind of know it from him because he always calls Vinny a chooch. Which, PS, I still watch Jersey Shore. I would love to do like a bonus episode and just talk about Jersey Shore, how wild it still is and how scary Angelina's skin is. And her personality. That's why she will never get married, because she's awful. But Jackie and Margaret, get into the locker room together, and they get in a little fight about the book. So this is when Margaret says to Jackie, like, "You didn't even send me a copy of your book." And then Jackie says, "I don't need to send you a copy of my book. You could go buy it." Now, this is what I was saying at the beginning, that I would touch on what Jackie said. I don't really agree with that. Like, if Margaret's a friend, why are you sending the book to Melissa and not Margaret? And then Jackie revealed that she was only sending the book to people that agreed to do press with her. That's a little shitty too. So let's just say, example, I have this podcast. Jackie's going to send me a book because I'm going to have her on my podcast and talk about it. But what if our other friend in the group just doesn't have anything platform besides her own Instagram? You're not gonna send her a book? That's not very nice. It's kinda like, "Oh, I'm not gonna give you this because you're not gonna do anything for me." So, I thought that was very interesting. I feel there's backstory, though, to why she didn't send her the book. So, Jackie has claimed in podcasts that Margaret is, like, claiming that Jackie got the book deal because of Margaret, so obviously that's gonna rub Jackie the wrong way, and I don't even know why Margaret would say that because Jackie was a writer. Remember she had that, like, column because she was, like, shit writing on Jennifer Aydin and, like, talking about her house? That's what I mean, it's a little crazy she went from, like, talking so meanly to Teresa because even Margaret said that, and then they show the flashback of, like, Teresa berating, Jackie when they were on the deck that time at the Jersey Shore, and she's like, "I'm only friends with confident people," and then Jackie's like, "Oh, would you get that confidence in jail?" And I'm like and then remember she did the whole analogy about Gia, which we all know that was an analogy. It was a poor analogy, like, maybe don't talk about the daughter, but I know she doesn't think Gia goes and does coke in her bathroom, but those words coming out of your mouth on TV are not gonna be good for Gia, and you know you're gonna piss Teresa off. So I'm actually shocked that Teresa likes Jackie after that comment alone. Um, and Margaret is like, she's starting to sniff it out that Jackie is starting to like make waves with them. Cause Jackie even said, I forgot to mention at the doggy fashion show lunch, I want to be friends with you guys and I don't let other people dictate who I can be friends with. I just find it fascinating that Jackie all of a sudden wants to be friends with them. So I didn't really think Jackie was like this, but maybe she's doing it because she is demoted on the show. And she's like, well, if I decide to film with Teresa, that'll be like, they'll be chattering about me and I'll be a topic. I don't know. I think she does miss being on the show, but she really still is on the show. And she doesn't need the money. They do have money. So I don't know. The shifts in dynamics are very interesting though. But then talk about another awkward, not fight, but awkward time. The producers doing it dirty. They make Teresa and Joe go in the locker room to get the jerseys at the same time. So we got Gia and Louie's son coming in with Louie and Teresa. And then we got Joe, Melissa, and little Joey Jr. And Melissa did do a nice thing. They walked in and she said to Joey, go give your aunt a kiss. And he did walk by, he gave her a kiss and then hugged Gia. Now, what I would like to know is if Teresa would tell Gia to go hug Melissa and give your godfather and your uncle a kiss. I don't think she would. And that's where I don't like that. Like, she could say whatever she wants about Melissa, but I'm just looking at it as pure at the end of the day, the kids shouldn't be involved, but Teresa does like to involve Gia. I mean, at the end of the day, Gia is 22, but she's still a kid. To Joe and Melissa, she's a kid because that's their niece and she's a lot younger than them. So to me, always going to be a kid. So you make your kid give her aunt and uncle respect. So I don't think Teresa would ever say that, or, like, let's say Adriana, because she's young. She's, like, young like Joey. I don't think she'd be like, "Adriana, go give Uncle Joe, like, a kiss. Zia Joe." She wouldn't say that, and that's wrong. So, I thought that was big of Melissa to do that, and yeah, that was pretty awkward. I was like, "Oh, shit." And then we see in the next episode, though, that they're all gonna have a sit-down lunch together. So I was like, "Oh, okay. I thought you guys didn't film it all together. Here you are in the locker room alone together and at the softball game, and then you're going to a sit-down lunch all alone, just the ladies." But then we got everyone out on the field, and it's like, whatever. They're playing, like, baseball, whatever, boring. Same old, same old. My husband said that Louie's legs look like Sutton's on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't know if everyone remembers when we did our podcast together. I said that Mike is scared of Sutton's chicken legs because she has like little chicken legs. He said that Louie's legs look like Sutton's legs. So that wasn't a compliment. um, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see Melissa and Jennifer at the end talk and say that they need to like sit down and have a lunch. And Melissa's like, even if like, she's like, you could come over our house, I'll go over your house. She's like, if you don't feel comfortable coming over our house, that's fine. We can meet in public just by ourselves. And she's like, and even if it's to say, like, you hate me. and I'm annoying. I don't care. Like, let's just sit down. And then she's like, and maybe vice versa. You're going to sit down and tell me you hate me. I do like it. I feel like that's why, again, like Melissa wants to maybe pull it out of Jennifer. I don't like you. And then it'll be like, see, bravo, Teresa and Jennifer can't get along with anybody. Fire them and let's just all kumbaya. It would be interesting to see, like, if Teresa and Jennifer were not gonna be on the show anymore, Melissa would actually literally like every cast member. Like, that would be pretty wild to see everyone get along. And then for Teresa, if Melissa left, she still wouldn't like every cast member because she doesn't like Rachel, she doesn't like Margaret. So that's what I mean. The odds are more in Melissa's favor to stay, to be honest. I think it's because she just gets along with everyone. I could see them giving Teresa a spinoff, just like Kim, Zolciak with, her family, because all the daughters would be willing to film, and we get more of Melania, that'd be great. Gabriella is the only one that, like, has no interest, I feel like, and she will be at college in Michigan. But we always see Louis's son. He never really talks, but he's there. Louis would love if they had their own show. And we would see, like, appearances, I feel like, from Jennifer Aydin and Dolo. Um, I don't know, though, if, like, it could be sustainable for Teresa to have her own show. Like, what does she do that, like, we would wanna watch that we don't watch on The Housewives? Like, Kim, when she got her spinoff, the kids were she still had little kids, so she had her 2 older ones, which were good, but, like, Teresa's, no one's little, and, like, Audriana's always gonna be, like, a dance, I feel like. She's never on the camera, honestly. That kid is never around, and it's probably also because she doesn't wanna be. I say we split the time between Teresa and Joe Giudice. Let's get some cameras in the Bahamas. That would be so funny. I think he would be funny. But next week will be good because they're all gonna sit down and then Rachel Fuda is gonna say to Teresa, "You're an old has-been." And I was like, "That old has-been started the show, like, you're just" I don't know. She's looking for a problem. She wants to poke and fight with Teresa, she's calling her a bully, and then she's talks about her rheumatoid arthritis, however you say it, and it's like, that is boring, that is snooze fest for me, I'm sorry. I don't not like Rachel, but it's like, can you, like, not talk about your arthritis? That is so stupid, like, literally no one cares. Like, no, that is not a good storyline. People think Melissa needs a storyline besides Teresa. Not if it's gonna be about stupid shit like that, like arthritis. I'd rather it be just about Teresa. No, I don't make fun of people for not really having a specific storyline. And it's like Melissa always does have something happening in her life. She just does happen to talk about Teresa a lot because don't lie, that's what we do wanna kinda see and hear. I'm sorry. Like, if they are gonna be on the show together, I at least do wanna hear what they have to say about one another, so then I could pick a side. I'm always still wishy-washy with the sides, though. But, to just touch on a little Bravo, just universe gossip tea, we saw Jax Taylor walking around with that big, giant SS watermelon titty, Paige Woolen. So what she does, besides having, like, breast implants the size of, like, giant watermelons mine do not look that big, everyone, I have nice natural looking ones, I do not look like her. Um, she has an Instagram that it's called In the DMs or something like that, and she actually DMs guys and to see if they're gonna, like, cheat or something, and I'm like, is this now? Like, did Britney set her up for this, like a PI move? No, I'm just kidding. But I find it fascinating that that's what she does, and it's like Jax was like a awful cheater back in the day, and then all these rumors just happen with him with the publicist. So now it's kinda circulating that maybe the publicist set this big titty lady up with Jax to get her some like exposure, but I don't think so. Jax is just going on lunch dates with a 33-year-old model. She says she's a model, but I feel like she really isn't. I looked at her Instagram. She just sits there with like string over her nipple. And it's like, well, you're not like Victoria's Secret model or like on Sports Illustrated. I think you just like take these pictures yourself and like people like them or something. Um, Yeah, they were seen having like a 3-hour lunch. And then she went to Jeremy Maddox's. So Ariana's brother is being so weird. He is hanging out with all these people, but he is currently not talking to Ariana. So I feel like if it wasn't shitty enough that everyone was kind of like not siding enough with Ariana. I feel like towards the end of the show, like Sheena and Lala. Now the freaking, at least Sheena is, I don't really know about Lala, hanging out with her brother who doesn't speak to her. It's like, what's wrong with you people? Like, Ariana is probably like, oh my God, like, what did I ever do to all these lunatics that they're just gonna like go out of their way to talk to everyone that doesn't talk to me, and I'm supposed to be their friend. So Jeremy, like clout chaser all of a sudden, is having his birthday party at Jax's Studio City. And this new big boob model girlfriend lunch date, we don't know what to label it for Jax, is like they're all like singing. And then right before he blew the candles out and they clapped, she does the weirdest, I know it's a joke, but she goes, and I'm pregnant. What? What girl? Like, you just got here, like, yesterday. Like, why are you saying that? So, I think she is for sure going on these lunch dates or gonna whatever this is gonna be, it's all for exposure for her. Sadly, I think Tom Sandoval's girlfriend actually likes him, and she must have a screw loose. She claims she doesn't watch the show, but this girl, just by her shouting out, "And I'm pregnant," during that, like, that's really not funny because it's like, you, like, just started, I guess we could say, dating Jax, which is just crazy to even think about because Brittany did say, like, they are free to date people, but also it's like, you're separated, right? Brittany said, "We need to separate, and the way we can get back together is if you do this, this, and this. Like, we go to counseling, you work on yourself because I am leaving because of you," which obviously it's prevalent watching The Valley, how he's treating her in front of people. Hate to see how he treats her behind closed doors. So it's like, if us separating then channels you dating this SS Watermelon Titty model girl that's now shouting, "I'm pregnant," and it's supposed to be a joke, and you like just met, that is so insulting, and obviously, they're gonna get divorced, like, Britney's not reconciling after this. So then in her Instagram stories, because as soon as I saw all this, I was like, immediately, I need to head over to Britney's Instagram, check on the well-being of this Kentucky muffin. Um, she's, like, putting up like, a little saying, like, "Don't worry, girl, hang in there, like, things are gonna get better," and then she put up this post that somebody made, like, shit talking Jax, and I don't know, I feel really bad for her, and it's like, that's what I mean. If this is what Jax's priority is while they're separated, then there's no hope. Like, at least Jesse was crying and, saying he wanted to, m like, have resolution with Michelle. That's why I was like, if I had to pick to be married to Jesse or Jax, I'd at least pick Jesse. I would like to pick neither of them and be alone and celibate instead, but I would pick Jesse because this is where Jax's brain is. I feel really bad for Brittany. We thought Brittany's boobs were getting big from like after having the implants and after having a baby and like a little body change. This woman, dear God, I don't want to see what her boobs would look like after a child. And obviously, her deluded like joke saying I'm pregnant. Well, maybe we'll find out. I just feel really bad for Brittany. I hope they get divorced so she could stop having to pay for this house that the slut is probably like sleeping in at times. And then when this girl picked up Jax for their 3-hour lunch date, this is why I'm also like, you're so doing this to like have publicity. She picked him up in a limo. Like, what is this, 1995? What is this, Pretty Woman? You're Richard Gere, like picking Jax up for lunch. This is so weird. The clout chaser, I tell you. Like, you can't trust these people. That's what Ariana, like, still love, and it resonates in my brain, what she said to Tom last season. You know, the scene she filmed with him all alone, La La. Make sure you go back and watch that since you don't think she filmed any scenes. God, I can't wait to recap the Vanderpump Rules reunion. That's gonna be insane. I'm gonna do it with my friend Brianna. She's been on before, so and she's the one that I got on the Vanderpump side, so during, COVID. So now she's an avid watcher, and I'm gonna have her back to discuss. This will be her 3rd time on the podcast, so it'll be good. But I loved when Ariana was like to Tom, "I loved you when you had nothing, when you drove a Honda Civic and you had like $5 to your name." She's like, "Now that you have like a little bar, a little bit of money, and you're in a band, Raquel likes you." Or she didn't say Raquel likes you. She's like, "Oh, she like wants to be with you," which is true. You know, Raquel wouldn't have been getting with Tom if he had a Honda Civic and that apartment that you couldn't turn on the air conditioning and the microwave at the same time. No, it's just like when she got with James. He had already been on the show for a little while, and he was the DJ at Sir, and he's always very flashy. James, always had to have like a nice car and stuff. So she wasn't gonna get with him unless he was on that show too. Like, some people are just like that, and that's why sometimes it's better to stick with the people that start from the beginning with you, like a Katie or like an Ariana. They were with the Toms from the beginning. Or Brittany. I mean, Jax had been on the show for a little bit, but you could tell Brittany really actually loved Jax for him, which is crazy, bless her soul, but she was not with him at the end of the day because he was on the show. And it's just gonna be very interesting how the Valley would move forward. I could see Michelle not coming back and Jesse being on the show, but I think Brittany would be like, "Jax isn't gonna push me out. I'm gonna still come on the show whether he likes it or not," which good for her, she should. Um, I think all this stuff is just crazy though, with him all of a sudden going on this, like, date, and I don't know. Who knows what it'll lead to? Um, in other news, to kind of stay on the realm of these friends, Tom Schwartz went on Brittany and Jax's podcast, but Brittany and Jax no longer can be in the same room at the same time. And this is before SS Watermelon Titties blew up on the news. They just could not be in the room at the same time. So now they're taking turns doing the podcast. Honestly, Jax should just stay off the podcast. Brittany is way better at doing it. She had Tom Schwartz come on. And interesting enough, I used to kind of feel bad for him leading Joe on. He said she is a psychotic, pathological liar. She actually said that she used to babysit one of the Vanderpump Rules, either like producers or camera people's like kids. So Tom asked the person, and he was like, "No, I have like never met Joe in my life, and she never watched my kids." It's like, why would you say that? And then she was saying she does A-Rod's hair, and she doesn't. It's like, okay, I'm now not believing anything you said. I mean, I do think Schwartz let her on a little bit, but now I can't even trust that like he said anything that he said to her, because she's like a psychological, pathological liar. He said that she said awful stuff to his family, um, that she's just crazy. And I'm sure she gives the girlfriend that he has like a hard time. I'm sure she makes like voodoo dolls of her, and I don't know. She just seems psycho, and I hope she's gone forever. That next we'll be getting restraining orders on her for all the cast. And that's what I mean. "Oh, okay, Lala, what do you think now? You just had to go to lunch with her and then say that Katie is like awful and that you could be friends with whoever you want. Want to go be friends with Kooky Joe now? I don't think so." Ugh, but that's pretty much all the, gossip I feel like I have. Oh, no, one more interesting thing. There is this new show that is going to be about young, up and coming, uh, like, housewives' kids, and it's like they're gonna like, Making It in Manhattan, I think it was called. I gotta look more into it. I just quickly, like, read about it, and Gia Giudice is gonna be on. Ariana Bierman is gonna be on. Meredith Marks' son is gonna be on it. Somebody else too. I don't think everyone is on The Housewives. I think it was just like a couple, and then there's other people. But I was like, oh my God. I feel like it's gonna be like they're all gonna like try to do their careers, I guess, like in New York. Because Gia, we know, wants to be a lawyer. I don't know what Kim Zolciak's daughter wants to be. Just not poor like her mother, I guess. But I would check that out. I'll get more info on that. I'm sorry for like the half-ass report on that. I just feel like my brain is like moving 100 miles a minute. Sometimes I read or see something and I'm like half paying attention. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I feel like that's about it for this. This was fun. And again, I'm sorry for the day delay, but thank you all for understanding. And I will see you on the next one.